Alright, quick review of simplifying radicals. Remember, 100 is made up of 10 and 10, so it makes a pair of 10s. We're looking for, since we're talking about square roots, we're looking for pairs. N to the third is n times n times n, so we have a pair of n's with the square root n. So that works out pretty nice if it's a perfect square. What happens if it's not? 120. Most of my students today said 12 and 10. So 2 and 6, 2 and 5, 2 and 3. Alright, so nothing was super nice next to each other. And the way we sometimes start this is say, okay, it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Then I'm looking for pairs. So I have a pair of 2's. My 2, 3, and 5. Well, they didn't get any pairs, so they're going to go back together. 6 times 5 is 30. B to the fourth. So I got 2 sets of those. So 2 sets becomes the exponent. So 2b squared square root 30. And if we try and work with something like 66, 6 and 11, 2 and 3, oh, look at that, nothing goes together. So it stays as 66. We'll deal with t to the fifth. So we get 2 pairs and 1 left over. So one thing we'll notice is every time that power is odd, we're going to get 1 left over. 32, what do you want to use? 8 and 4? Okay, that's pretty common. What about 2 and 4? Okay, so instead of making this a whole mess of 2's, we're going to say that's a pair of 4's and a 2 left over. Left a little space. Oh, it's x to the first power. So no pairs, so it stays that way. Then we jump to our fractions next. We can do fractions separately. Just like when we squared fractions, we squared the top and the bottom separately. We can square root them separately as well. Now if they're not perfect squares, but in this case both divisible by 2, so let's make it 9x to the fourth over 100. Well, that works out a little bit nicer, provided I remember to put my square root on it. So 3x squared over 10. So it can work out pretty nice. Reduction not only with numbers, but also with our variables. If I had x divided by x to the third, this becomes the square root of 28 over the square root of x squared. So the bottom is pretty easy, but the top goes back to where we started. How do I break down 28? 4 and 7, 2 and 2. So it's 2 square root 7. Not too shabby. So that takes care of our division. We want to multiply, so we have a couple things to show you here. If nothing else, we're going to make it 180 just by multiplying and then break it down. But if you notice that 30 has a factor of 6, 6 and 5, I can get straight to my answer and say 6 square root 5. So when we look at 5 and 70, hopefully you're thinking that's definitely divisible by 5, and the other number is 14. That's 2 and 7. No pairs there, so we'll make it back to 14. So 5 square root 14. But again, if you want to multiply those together, make it 350, you can do that. If we get a coefficient, a number outside, we're going to multiply those together. 1 and 2 is 2. 3 and 96. Again, I don't really care what that is because I'm going to break it down anyway. I'm also going to look for another factor of 3. So 3 and 32 works. Just don't stop there, because 32 has some other things in it. I think we dealt with that earlier, right? 8 and 4, so 2 and 4. So I need the 2 that was originally outside. I need the 3 that we made a pair of, the 4 we made a pair of, and the only thing left is this lonesome 2. These are all being multiplied, so we'll multiply them together and get 24 square root 2. Same strategy if we deal with variables. So first thing is multiply my outside numbers. This is 6/4, remember that's over 1. I'm going to say it's 12 times 20. If you want to impress me and multiply it, go ahead. But we have to take it apart anyway. And my x's, that makes up 7 of them. Remember when we multiply, we add exponents. I'm looking for a common factor. That's 4 of both of these. I get 3 times 4 and 5 times 4. So I have a pair of 4's. That's going to go out. So I have 6 times 4, or 6 fourths times 4. Leave a little space. We got 15 left over, right? 3 and 5. We have x to the 7th, so I have 7 of them. We're going to make 3 pairs with 1 left over. Then we just want to clean this thing up. So I get 24 over 4, which is just 6. So 6x cubed, square root 15x is our simplified version of our radical.